You think you know who your enemies are. You think betrayal announces itself with a knife to the chest, with shouting, with dramatic confrontations. But that is not how power truly operates. The most dangerous attacks are the ones you never see coming. They happen in silence, in shadows, in the space between what is said and what is meant. Right now, as you go about your day, someone close to you might be systematically destroying your reputation, poisoning your relationships, and sabotaging your future. And the most terrifying part? You are probably helping them do it. You smile at them. You trust them. You confide in them. And while you sleep, they are building the scaffold for your execution. Niccolo Machiavelli understood what modern society refuses to accept. He knew that the court is full of smiling assassins. He knew that the most loyal face often hides the sharpest blade. He wrote that men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. You have been trained to see the best in people. You have been trained to assume good faith. That training is your weakness. Because while you are busy being nice, being fair, being understanding, the underminer is studying you. They are noting your patterns, your insecurities, your blind spots. And they are using that information to dismantle you piece by piece. Today we are going to expose the invisible war. We are going to dissect the silent signs that someone is not your ally but your enemy in disguise. These are not the obvious betrayals. These are the surgical manipulations that happen beneath the surface of polite conversation. By the end of this, you will see the strings. You will recognize the patterns. And you will never be caught off guard again, but understand this. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you know the game, you can never go back to innocent trust. If you are ready to wake up, let's begin. Sign 1. Subtle praise followed by public correction. Listen carefully to this dynamic. You share an idea in a meeting. You propose a solution. You speak with confidence. And they nod, they smile. They say something like, "That's interesting. I like where your head is at." You feel validated. You feel supported. But then, minutes later, in front of the group, they say something like, "Building on what you said, but maybe approaching it from a more realistic angle." Or, "I think what you were trying to say is this." They have just done two things. First, they associated themselves with your idea, so if it succeeds, they get credit. Second, they position themselves as the smarter, more competent version of you. They framed you as the rough draft and themselves as the polished edit. Machiavelli knew that perception is reality. If people perceive you as the person who needs correction, you lose authority. If they perceive you as the assistant and the underminer as the leader, the hierarchy shifts without anyone noticing. This tactic is insidious because it is wrapped in politeness. They are not insulting you. They are helping you. They are refining your point. But the subtext is clear. You are not quite ready for the big leagues. You need them to translate your thoughts into something useful. Watch for this pattern. If someone consistently does this, they are not your collaborator. They are your competitor. And they are winning. Sign 2. Strategic absence during your victories and sudden presence during your struggles. Pay attention to who shows up when. The underminer has a peculiar pattern. When you succeed, when you close the deal, when you get the promotion, when you achieve something significant, they are nowhere to be found. No congratulations, no acknowledgement. Maybe a brief cold text hours later. But when you stumble, when you make a mistake, when you are vulnerable, they appear like a vulture circling a wounded animal. They offer help. They offer advice. They position themselves as your savior. This is not support. This is positioning. They are ensuring that in the eyes of others, your success is invisible or attributed elsewhere, but your failures are visible and require their intervention. Machiavelli wrote that it is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver. The underminer takes pleasure in this dance. They withhold validation when you need it to keep you insecure. They offer assistance when you are weak to make you dependent. If you notice someone who is absent during your highs and omnipresent during your lows, you are dealing with someone who needs you to fail so they can feel powerful. Cut the cord. You do not need a savior. You need allies who celebrate your wins and are honest during your losses without making themselves the hero of your story. Sign 3. Information hoarding and selective communication. The underminer controls the flow of information. They know things you do not know. They have conversations you are not invited to. They are in group chats you are not part of. And when you ask questions, they give you just enough to keep you functional, but never enough to be fully informed. You realize too late that a meeting happened without you. You find out about a decision after it has been made. You are always one step behind, always scrambling to catch up. And when you confront them, they act confused. Oh, I thought you knew. I assumed someone told you. It must have slipped my mind. This is not an accident. This is strategy. By keeping you in the dark, they ensure you cannot prepare. You cannot defend yourself. You cannot contribute at the level you are capable of. You look disorganized, uninformed, incompetent. And they look like the person who has it all together, the person in the know. Machiavelli understood that knowledge is power. The person who controls the information controls the outcome. If you are constantly the last to know, if you are always discovering things after the fact, someone is gatekeeping information to weaken you. Demand transparency. Ask direct questions. And if they continue to withhold, assume malice, not forgetfulness. Sign 4. The poison compliment. This is the most elegant form of undermining. On the surface, they are praising you. But embedded in the praise is a knife. You are so confident. I wish I could be that bold without worrying about the details. Translation. You are reckless. You have such a unique perspective. It is refreshing to hear something so outside the norm. Translation. You are weird. Your ideas are not credible. I admire how you do not let criticism get to you. I would be devastated. Translation. Everyone criticizes you and you are too dumb to notice. The poisoned compliment allows the underminer to appear supportive while planting seeds of doubt in the minds of others. If they say this in front of a boss, a client, or a peer, they have just damaged your reputation while looking like your biggest fan. Machiavelli warned that those who are generous with false praise are preparing the ground for true betrayal. The person who constantly gives you compliments that feel slightly off, that make you pause and wonder, is not your friend. They are your publicist for a reputation you do not want. Do not accept these compliments. Do not smile and nod. Look them in the eye and say, "What do you mean by that?" Force them to clarify. Watch them squirm. Most will backpedal because they were relying on your politeness to let the insult slide. Sign 5. Manufactured misunderstandings. The underminer is a master of playing dumb. You give them clear instructions. You send a detailed email. You have an explicit conversation. And somehow they misunderstand. They do the opposite of what you asked. They claim they thought you meant something else. They apologize profusely. I am so sorry. I totally misread that. The first time, you believe them. The second time, you are frustrated. The third time, you start to see the pattern. This is not confusion. This is sabotage. By consistently misunderstanding you, they make you look like a bad communicator. They make you look unclear, disorganized, unable to lead. And they escape accountability because I was just trying to help. I did not understand. Machiavelli knew that plausible deniability is the shield of the cunning. If they can claim ignorance, they can act with impunity. If someone repeatedly misunderstands you in ways that always benefit them or harm you, stop assuming good faith. Document everything. Send follow-up emails summarizing conversations. Create a paper trail. And when they claim confusion, you can point to the record. Remove their cover. Sign 6. They mirror your emotions to disarm you, then weaponize your vulnerability. This is psychological warfare. You are upset. You are frustrated. You are angry about something. The underminer sees this and matches your energy. They validate you. They say, I completely understand. That is so unfair. You have every right to be angry. You feel seen. You feel heard. You open up. You tell them more. You tell them your fears, your plans, your suspicions about others. And they nod. They agree. They bond with you over the shared enemy. But later, in a different room, with a different audience, they use that information against you. They tell your boss you are volatile. They tell your colleagues you are paranoid. They share your private frustrations as evidence of your instability. Machiavelli wrote that a wise prince should never reveal his thoughts to anyone unless necessity compels him. The underminer knows this. They compel you to reveal yourself by offering false empathy. They become your emotional mirror, so you forget they are not your reflection. They are a window, and everyone else is watching through it. If someone is always available to absorb your complaints but never seems to face consequences for their own behavior, you are talking to a spy, not a friend. Guard your emotions. Guard your words. Vent to a therapist, a journal, or a trusted person outside the system, not to someone inside the game who benefits from your downfall. Sign 7. They position themselves as the intermediary between you and power. You want to speak to the boss. They say, let me handle it. I will talk to them for you. You want to present your idea. They say, why don't you run it by me first? I can frame it better. You want access. They become the gatekeeper. On the surface, this looks like mentorship. It looks like they are protecting you, grooming you, helping you navigate the political landscape. But what they are actually doing is controlling your access to power. If you can only reach the decision makers through them, you are not a player. You are a puppet. And they are pulling the strings. Machiavelli warned that the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. If the people around you are preventing you from direct access to those who matter, they are ensuring you remain dependent. And dependence is control. Insist on direct communication. Insist on being in the room. If they resist, if they say, trust me, this is better, know that you are being sidelined. Fight for your seat at the table. Do not let anyone speak for you unless you have explicitly chosen them as your representative. Sign 8. The selective memory. They remember every mistake you have ever made, every misstep, every failure, and they bring it up. Not aggressively, not obviously, but in passing, in moments where it will do maximum damage. You are pitching a new idea, and they say, that sounds great. I hope it goes better than the project last year. You are celebrating a win, and they say, finally. After all those false starts, they are keeping a mental ledger of your failures and using it to diminish your victories. Meanwhile, their own mistakes are conveniently forgotten. They never reference their own failures. They never bring up the times they dropped the ball. The past is only a weapon when it is your past. Machiavelli understood that history is written by the victors. The underminer is writing your history for you, and they are making sure it is a story of incompetence punctuated by occasional luck. If someone constantly reminds you of your past failures while erasing their own, they are building a narrative. And that narrative is designed to keep you small. Interrupt it. When they bring up the past, say, that was then. This is now. Refuse to live in their version of your history. Write your own story. Sign 9. They create triangulation. They do not communicate with you directly. They go to others. They tell person A what you supposedly said about person B. They tell person C that you are upset with them, even if you are not. They manufacture conflict between you and others while positioning themselves as the neutral observer, the concerned friend trying to keep the peace. This keeps you isolated. This keeps you defensive. You spend your energy managing misunderstandings and repairing relationships that were never actually broken. And while you are busy putting out fires they started, they are building alliances, gaining trust, and solidifying their position. Machiavelli knew that divide and conquer is the oldest strategy in the book. The underminer divides you from your potential allies, so they can conquer the territory you leave undefended. If you notice that conflicts seem to emerge whenever this person is involved, if you notice that your relationships with others become strained in their presence, you are dealing with a triangulator. Cut them out of the communication chain. Go directly to the source. Talk to person A yourself. Talk to person B yourself. Remove the middleman. When you do this, you will often discover that the conflicts they described never existed. They were manufactured. And once you expose the manufacturer, their power evaporates. Sign 10. the false alliance. They complain about the same people you complain about. They share your frustrations. They act like you are in this together, a united front against the common enemy. But when it matters, when the conflict comes to a head, they disappear. Or worse, they join the other side. You thought they had your back. You thought you were building something together. But you were just a useful tool in their larger game. Once you served your purpose, you were discarded. Machiavelli knew that alliances are only as strong as mutual benefit. The moment the benefit disappears, so does the alliance. If someone bonds with you over shared enemies but never actually takes action with you, they are not your ally. They are gathering intelligence. They are using you to map the battlefield. And when the time comes, they will choose the winning side, not the loyal side. Test your alliances. Propose action. See if they follow through. If they are always ready to complain but never ready to act, they are dead weight. Or worse, they are the enemy wearing a friendly mask. Sign 11. They ask loaded questions in public. This is a favorite tactic of the skilled underminer. You are in a meeting in front of colleagues, clients, or superiors, and they ask you a question that sounds innocent but is designed to make you look bad no matter how you answer. Can you walk us through your decision-making process on that project? I'm just curious how you arrived at that conclusion. The question implies that your decision was questionable, that there is something to explain, that you owe an explanation. If you give a detailed answer, you look defensive. If you give a brief answer, you look dismissive or like you did not think it through. The question itself is the attack. It is not about getting information. It is about creating doubt in the minds of everyone watching. Machiavelli would recognize this as the art of planting seeds without appearing to plant them. The underminer is not accusing you. They are just asking questions. And questions are weapons when wielded with precision. When this happens, do not fall into the trap of over-explaining. Give a short, confident answer. I made the decision based on the data available. It was the right call? Then stop. Do not elaborate unless specifically asked by someone in authority. And never, ever let the questioner see you sweat. Your confidence in your answer is more important than the answer itself. Sign 12. They offer unsolicited advice in front of others. You are handling something. You are managing a situation. You are in control, and they step in. Hey, have you thought about doing it this way? I think it might be more efficient. On the surface, they are being helpful. But what they are actually doing is undermining your competence in front of an audience. They are suggesting that you have not thought things through, that you need their guidance, that without them, you would fail. This is a dominance display disguised as collaboration. Machiavelli knew that a prince must appear to be the author of his own success. If someone is constantly offering you advice you did not ask for, especially in public, they are trying to position themselves above you in the hierarchy. They are trying to look like the mentor and you like the student. Shut it down. When they offer unsolicited advice, look at them calmly and say, I have got it covered. But thank you. Do not explain your process. Do not justify your approach. Just reassert your authority over your own domain. If they persist, you can escalate. I appreciate your interest, but I did not ask for feedback. This will feel uncomfortable. They are counting on your discomfort to keep you from pushing back. Disappoint them. Sign 13. They celebrate your effort, not your results. This is a subtle one. You achieve something significant. You close a deal, you finish a project, you hit a goal. And they say, wow, you worked so hard on that. I am proud of how much effort you put in. Notice what they did not say. They did not acknowledge the result. They did not acknowledge your success. They focused on the struggle, the effort, the difficulty. This framing diminishes your achievement. It suggests that you succeed not because you are capable, but because you work harder than everyone else. It implies that you lack natural talent, that you have to grind where others would glide. Machiavelli understood that how a victory is framed determines its value in the eyes of others. If your victories are framed as the product of luck or relentless grinding rather than skill and intelligence, you will not be seen as a leader. You will be seen as a workhorse. When someone does this, correct the frame. Thank you. I am pleased with the outcome. The strategy paid off. Shift the focus from effort to results, from struggle to competence. Do not let them rewrite your success as a consolation prize for hard work. Here is what you need to understand. Undermining is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is surgical, quiet, and wrapped in plausibility. The underminer is not the person screaming at you. They are the person smiling at you while whispering to everyone else. Machiavelli would tell you that the greatest danger comes not from the enemy you can see, but from the ally you trust. The person closest to you has the most access to destroy you. And if they are smart, they will do it slowly, methodically, so that by the time you realize what is happening, the damage is already done. So, what do? You stop being naive. You stop assuming good faith. You watch. You document. You verify. You trust actions, not words. And when you identify the underminer, you do not confront them emotionally. You do not accuse them. You simply remove their access. You stop sharing information. You stop seeking their approval. You stop giving them ammunition. You make yourself unreadable. And you execute your plans without their knowledge. If they cannot see you, they cannot sabotage you. Become a ghost in their game. And while they are still looking for you in the places you used to be, you will be building your empire in the shadows where they cannot reach. The war is silent. The war is already happening. The only question is, are you still pretending it is not? Subscribe, not because I am asking you to, but because you have just seen the matrix. You have just seen the code. And you can never go back to sleep. Join the order. Turn on notifications. We are building a sanctuary for those who refuse to be prey. I will see you in the shadows.